How's the car?
Reasonable.
Cheap, thanks. Okay, anytime you're ready.
No, to muszę wziąć.
This name I just remember because all those years, so many names went through my mind, but I forgot a lot. But this name in particular I remember. There was in my next barracks, there was a family. They were very, very good family. A mother was kind of old. Father was gone, I think was dead. But then those three brothers, they were very close. I think when they were Poland, they make money on the weddings or something like that because they were musicians. They were never even read the notes, but they could play. You could sit and read and hear what they did. They were playing, and their hands were very, very talented. What they did, the Russian knew about this, so they wanted something, information from them, and they took them away. When they came back, all their hands were broken, and they were telling us that they were beaten by the hoses, rubber hoses, which they didn't need, no pain, no scars. But they're all the, you know, I don't know what it is. I was never beaten by horses. But they were very, very, they couldn't even get up. Many times they had to lay down and get rest. Those brothers were so crippled by that, and they keep taking them. I think they were going to put them in some kind of spy business. They wanted them to spy on us, or maybe tell them something that they wanted to know, but those brothers were stick together and they didn't want to tell them nothing. And they keep cruel them and beat them. That's what I know. That's what really stuck in me. But they only did really harm to people that they were afraid that they'll do them some kind of harm in future, or they want them to work for them, and they object. If they object, they try to break them. And Russian has a different way to break people, or they know how to break people.
Okay. Yes.
Well, Russia's system is this, to break you. And how they do it? They knew from experience that if they separate the family, they take away your father or your mother away and leave youngsters by themselves, they can do the job. What they did systematically, they were forced. The kids, the children have to go to classes, special instructions. The family not supposed to even see them during that courses. Family was put on special labor or something like that. You see what I'm talking, because I was young and I only know what was going on in my place. But every place, they did it differently or similar. They wanted to break us. They didn't want to save us. They sent us for one reason, till we die. But before we die, they want us, so we have our muscles and our physical way to help them, to make them strong, to make them industry go up. So everybody was trying to brainwash, and they said, if you work for us, we can do everything for you. But if you don't, we can break you. And they always find a way, and they keep asking. Those police, and Kovodet, the name, oh, they were tough. They keep asking questions, trick you, take the kids away, try to trick the parents. Or they do these things over and over and over again until they find that you make some kind of mistakes. And they catch those mistakes, and then they press you. They keep asking you. If you don't answer them, they'll find a way to do it. They have people, and they really train them good. Those people do the job. I know they did.
Okay, hang on a second.
You asked me about how there was a transport. Transport was just nightmare. First was too crowded because they put in a train that wasn't even fit to transport people. This is for cows or coal or some kind of material, but never for people. We had no water running, no gas, no heat. There was no window, nothing. And there was so many people that there was in one wagon, which should be, if you put the chairs, maybe good for 20 people. And we were over there, at least 100 people. I think there was about 20 families. There was at least 20 children in that wagon what I was in. The trip took us 6 months. 6 weeks. And that was very tough because we were going during the night, and many times we stay in one place, then we travel again, then we stop, then we go back a few hundred miles, and people were really stuffed. There was such a condition and thing that we thought we'll never make it, but somehow Lord let us know that we made it and we were very sick. I think at least 10 people died on a trip in our wagon. And the children suffer a lot, old people too, because water. They were so thirsty that every 500 miles we stopped, and there were only 1 or 2 people from each wagon, they were delegated to go and get some soup or some water, and that's it. Maybe bread. And there we had to divide this, and we have to be so satisfied and happy with that for another 500 miles. And that's why it took us so long. This is only 2,000, not about 3,000 miles. And usually it should take about a few weeks or the most. But for us, it took 6 weeks. And that was really very, very hard, especially on the old people and young children. And 2 women, there were women pregnant, and I think they suffer a lot because there was no way they could make it. So most of the time there was miscarriages, and mother and children died before they reached destination, and they didn't welcome us over there. They just took us from that train, put in the barracks, and then it started to be really, really tough. From day to day, we didn't know if we're going to live or die. We have to just look for ourselves. Everybody look for themselves, for each family. Try to help. Try to do, and we pray, and we day and night that maybe we'll be safe. Well, not everybody was lucky. From my family, nobody died. But let's say my wife's family, 3 people died. Her father died. Her brother died. Another 2 brothers, even when they were in the army, they died. One died in Scotland, we buried him. Another one died in England. He was a pilot, and he was tried to, his aeroplane was destroyed. He tried to parachute, and he get wounded, his kidney or something, and he died too. So another brother, because there was 13 in her family, was never made it to the West. They took him, he was in army, but he was on the Eastern Front. And still now nobody knows what happened. So many, many families for many, many years, or maybe forever, were separated. Husband and wives and children different way. My friends, my neighbors, I know 1, 2 ladies live here, and they went through the same camp I did. And they were young, and they sent their families, what's left, to Africa, Rhodesia, and other places. They stay over there like sierociniec. That means for the children, they have no mother and father. So everybody you talk to, everybody has some bad experience, and many of those people, then every time you mention something, they start to cry. Their face change. They have so emotionally involved. They have so much to say, and everybody says, I don't want to talk about it. That makes me sick. That's what's going on. After 2 weeks after when the Russian invaded Poland, we didn't know what's going to happen to us. So there was all kinds of rumors. All of a sudden, there was 2 months, there was an early winter, very cold winter. There was such a cold that not even the oldest people remember such a cold, and so many feet drifts of snow. We were very, very close to Russian border. Russian soldiers came 2 o'clock in the morning and tell us that they have to take us to station and ask us some questions. And they told us, don't take anything, because you'll be back. We just ask you questions, you'll be back. Of course, we knew that wasn't the truth, so we tried to grab anything we can. We butchered some chickens. We just put them in a bag. We took some loaf of bread that we had ready. Anything was handy, we took it, because we knew that we'll never come back. And that's what happened. That's what happened to us. It happened to thousands and thousands of people all in all villages, towns, and they just put us in that train and they separate us. My father they took him first. I thought they shot him in 40 miles from my place named Katyn. They put a bullet. First they dug the big, huge crater, hole, whatever you call, and they knew that it was in a big, deep forest. And they bring all these people. They asked them. They did the same thing like Hitler did. Some of those prisoners, they were so bad, they would usually watch for watch. If they had a watch, they didn't even want to ask you. They grabbed it. When they have a finger, they didn't even bother to take the finger out. They just cut the finger off with that ring. When you had a golden teeth, they just knocked the teeth off. And they take everything they can take. Those prisoners were asked, they were beaten, they crueled them, and finally what they did everything from them. And those people usually had a big high position during Poland. Most of them, they were cardinals, priests, not priests, I mean bishops, generals, people that really lead the country. They knew something about it. So what they did, they want to eliminate them. They just put and take their clothes out, they hand their hands on the back, they bring them to their big hole, and they put bullet right close range, right to the school, and they just dropped them and I think buried them. 15,000, the best Polish people in Katyn. And I heard this. This was only 40 miles from us, where I used to live. And I wonder, I thought there was a maneuvers, some kind of training. I didn't know what was going on. And it was day and night. During the night, it was shooting. Pooh, pooh, shoot, all the time. And we didn't know what's happened to them because mothers and fathers, children lost their father, wife lost their husband. After the war, I was still in the army. When we found out about this, who discovered this? Germany. Germany tried to blame Russia. Russia bribed Germany. And they keep back and forth tell who killed those soldiers, those officers. But nobody won't take a blame. Now they do. Now they said Stalin did. Stalin did, yes, but he wasn't by himself. He had the people working for him. He didn't do what the Hitler did in Germany. Germany didn't just run by Hitler. He had the people helping him. That's what Stalin did. The best Russian people were sent to Siberia. And the people in Siberia, they don't exist long because even Mother Nature is going against them. How could they exist when they don't have vitamins, they don't have food to eat, when they have a cold against them, when the bugs and all kinds of mosquitoes so bad that the malaria and all kinds of diseases going on and nobody cares if they die or live. So you see, they don't live long. They know it. That's... Oh boy.
Wait, let the count speed always. Wait 5 seconds.
What? Wait 5 seconds, okay.
Look, those families who were supposed to send them to Siberia, they didn't know what was expected of them. After they left their home by force, they came and took them with families. They told them lie that they are going to be back. They never went. They went as soon as they reached that trains. They put them in that thing, and that was it. They just didn't. Nobody care of them if they eat or they drink or they have any that they can. Each one has to go to the, like personal. Do anything about no. We were put in that train, and if you die, that's sure bad luck. So we didn't have water, which is very, very important. We didn't have nothing to sit on, not to burn, not window. So water was most important thing, but we were thirsty. We were so thirsty that people died. Our tank was just hanging, and that odor from other people because they didn't take a bath for weeks. This was unbearable. So we youngsters suffer even more because you see we were short, and it was so crowded that we can't even go. So our mother used to, or sister, carry us like I was carrying my brother on the shoulder, and I tried to give him some more air because it was not enough. But the water was really, so we didn't have actually good water. We just, when they stopped, we begged, we banged in the doors, because everything was locked. So they opened the door and they said, what do you want? And when a train was stationed, stopped. So they let us just grab some snow, and we melt that snow, or we eat snow raw like it was, and that wasn't healthy. Anybody who was doing that was just like a suicide, because this is disease. All that snow by the road is all damn, is a lot of germs, and people were dying from anything. So you see the condition in general, there was non-existing. They just knew that if they take us, that's the Russian system. They don't want us to live. So they took us, we're human beings. We just went through that one, and they don't just do to Polish people. They do to the white Russian people, Ukrainians, anybody. Every few years, they just take not thousands of people that they don't like. They take whole territories, just like states, and it's transfer people to Siberia. For Siberia, take to the distant place. That's the Russian system. They have to. And if something is wrong, they always blame on somebody, so somebody is smaller to be blamed. Frogs, not frogs, they eat, and if they eat some roots, grass and everything. My sister said that after I left, Russia was really bad situation. I don't know what's happened. They were afraid there would be some kind of revolt or some kind of strike or something. They took those people and separate them. Take one family, they see you are friendly, they took them 1,000 miles this way. They're another family here. But usually they take some place where they need some help, labor. My family was not fortunate that they took her to the place that was like Ukrainian, that they have a beautiful, she said, the ground and earth is, so rich that they used to have melons, big one like that one. But she said, they have only 2 months or a few weeks good weather. Rest of them, when they keep changing them. Well, a little bit here, a little bit another place. Another place they went over there was only 6 weeks at the most good weather. They couldn't even plant a garden, because cold came right away, and they took what they want to do it. They don't even grow. So that was really tough for them. They said they eat.
Thank you.
You see the lever mark AGC?
Yeah, we are out of tape.
Family had a different how many people, but the one family get a one room, and the barrack was about almost 100 feet long. So I presume that it was at least 200 people in one barrack, and I know we had about 300 barracks like that in the one place where I was living, and everything was around wires, and wire was very high, and the guard was over there just like in prison. We, 24 hours a day with the dogs. The dogs were all the time, special trained dogs, so nobody can come outside or escape. anybody escaped, they did the same method like in Germany. They take a mother or father from children, and usually we never heard from them what's happened, what if they die or they are still in prison. That's what they try to punish the escapers, and so they won't run away because the main thing they wanted is a labor. They want a production, and if people work hard and they're able to do so many hours work in those mines, they gave him some kind of like a present. They said they'll give you more bread, usually no more money, but the bread, double. But if you make the double more work, much more, then you get more bread. That's how they worked. And we felt very, very bad because we couldn't go nowhere. We couldn't communicate with the whole world. Everything was closed. We didn't have a radio. We didn't have newspaper. We didn't know what's going outside. We know it's war, and everything was preparation. All the time we get some kind of siren, but I don't know what was for, and all kinds of action was going out, but we were just like cut out from the whole world because we didn't know what's going on. The weather against us, and guards, and everything was against us. So like I said, those years, for anybody went through, now they have consequences because they usually have some kind of symptoms of limb or, every change of weather or something. I feel myself rheumatism. I usually go to a doctor and he said, there is no way that he can help you. You went through those things, and that's you have to live with it. So it's very tough.
Have you met any foreigners? Have you met any foreigners?
Yes, I met different nationality, but most of all, there was more Jewish. For every 2 families, there was one family or Jewish family. And I feel sorry for those families because those poor Jews were not prepared for that kind of condition. And the old people die just like flies. Overnight, there were so many deaths, there was not enough people and a transportation to bury them. So they never had any special one place that they buried one person. They buried them dozens and hundreds in one grave. And if they didn't have any grave because it was frozen, they just took them away, and they just, I don't know, most of the time they just burn them, or I don't know what they just dispose them somehow that we don't even know what's happened to those bodies.
Did you meet any, did they beat you? Or
yes, they didn't beat me personally, but anybody they suspect of something, that they did something in the past, or their father was active in reserve or was ex-soldier or officer, they always suspect something, and they keep time and asking questions. But if you don't tell them the truth, they torture you. They put all kinds of light. They put you in a chamber, like one room, and the light was direct on you for day and night, or water was dripping on you. You couldn't even sit on a place. That was really bad. I think they torture people that way more than other, because your nerves can't stand that. Ice water dripping on the person day and night, and you can't sleep, you can't lay down. Those kind of torture, I think, was the very, very bad.
If you can tell me about lies.
Oh, lies. You see, lies, I don't know where they come from, honest. Many times I said, well, if you if you have no water, if you don't take a regular bath or change your clothes, from you sweat or something, one person have it, everybody in that room have it. Those creatures, I don't know why God even permit something like that. They're miserable. They just go and eat your body, suck your blood, and go night or day, they just go to your skin and they take blood of you. You don't even have enough blood, but I don't know where they keep doing that, and they were bad because there's only chance to rid of them is the heat. Once in a while, we were permitted only once a week to go to steam bath, and when we go to bath, the same time you give your clothes what you wear to the steam, and they put in a special chamber where they put extra heat, and that heat, that temperature kills those animals, those bugs. But they were a nuisance. As long as I remember, when I was in Russia, those are dead more than anything else. This is, I don't know where. They were so bad that you can't, and people don't even hide. They just keep scratching themselves. Take those clothes and try to put it against the sun or light during the day. And water, water. We don't have enough water. Even there was enough sun, but we don't have enough heat. So that water was always somehow, you can't wash those clothes because that dirt and sweat and makes them multiply, and your whole body is just like you had some chicken pox, because all your face, all you scratch, and you all night, if you have any rest, I don't remember. I keep scratching myself. Now sometimes when I have that nightmares, I keep scratching myself, or have hands like this. When my wife says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know what I'm doing. I just keep scratching myself, even now, instantly." That comes, it's bad on people when they do, when you have to go through this experience.
Okay, excuse me for a second.
Yeah.
The thing fell down.
The more you scratch, just like you have a poison ivy, there is no way, and of course we didn't have nothing to do anything about it, because they think that when you rest to that, they bother those leaves. They just do that all night, every day, and they come from one person to another. I remember when I took my clothes off for the steam or get washed, and I had wrapped them in a special container that was like a newspaper. We don't have too many newspapers, and I wrapped it in. All of a sudden, I see my clothes was moving, and I said, "Who is moving?" I thought it was a rat.
No, that's right.
Well, in my place where I was born, there was a small place, but not too far, there was a town named Grudek Komodechna. There was a place, now this place is in Russian. Russia captured my place where I was born, is right now in Russia. Half of Poland was sliced without our knowledge, without our, they did it. In 1943 in Potsdam, they took away from us, so I couldn't even go and visit that place. So there were a lot of people that used to be, when Poland was, in the First World War, there was a lot of legionaries, a lot of army people, officers. They have a lot of retreats over there, maneuvers. So they knew about those people, activity in Poland. After when the war broke out, Russia took all these people and sent them to Siberia. Of course, they were not treated like human beings. They just were over there like what German did. They did it fast. They put in a chamber. They took their teeth and hair. They make from their skin. They were making some portraits. But in Russia, they said, "We don't care about you. You are just like animals. You are here to die." So of course they didn't take care of us. Those criminals were even, they treat them much worse than animals. They didn't give them no freedom whatsoever. And they were beaten, they were questioned, and they asked for the labor, for work and work. I think the people in Egypt, when Israel was over there, they asked for a lot of labor, but I don't think there were no comparison with the Russian people, Polish people, people who are honest, good people, that family people try to go through that hell what they went over there in Russia. Russia when Caesar was there, there was a lot of cruelty. Poor people always suffer, but never so much like the communists took over. They have no respect, no human right, nothing. They only those people who were in power. But today, nobody is sure. When Russia took over communists, there is nothing is sure over there. Everybody have right of everybody, because they can be informed, you can be thrown to jail and take all the rights from them every minute. So nobody is sure. Today you can be a general, tomorrow they send you to Siberia forever.
Have you been beaten by criminals?
Criminals, no. I was too young to experience, but I saw they beat people all the time. When they come home, you couldn't even tell they recognized their own friends. And when you ask them questions, they usually never want to tell you what's going on. They said, I can't tell you nothing what they do to me, because I am afraid that they will do something bad to my mother or father or children, and that's why they never want to tell us, because more they know, more you know, more people know, that there will be somebody who will suffer for that. There was a lot of suicide. You know, people usually, they have no way, like there was nobody had any weapons, rifles, anything. So suicide they did by hanging themselves or throw themselves under the trucks or some kind of, machine. When they were working on a factory, they explode. They put some dynamite and they just blow themselves and their friends, because they just say, I'd rather die instead live and get tortured like that. Because nobody was sure anything was going on. Only we get saved. For instance, I was saved because Russian government and all the army and whole things was in a bad situation they were, because Germans were very close and everything was disorganized. Army didn't have nothing. My soldiers next door to me, when I was living, I was watching them day and night. They were training. The farmers were took from farm. They didn't know how to read or write, but they were forced. They put them through trainings, no more than 2 weeks, with no rifles, but the sticks and brooms. They teach them how to kill, but they never teach them how to protect themselves, because they know that when they send them to the front, there will be nobody left.
Who told you to be a Polish soldier?
Well, we heard, there was only rumor that something is going on, and that the Polish army is going to be existed with approval of Stalin, and if somebody, that they were going to accept young, strong men to the army. Of course, I was too young, but I took my chance. I left the place and I went, but it took me a long time, almost months and months before I reached the destination.
But somebody told you, somebody bring you a newspaper and showed you?
No, this is from mouth to mouth. Somebody had some kind of, maybe some radio or something, that, news goes fast. Over there, one person knows.
We have to repeat this.
See, what you did is, when you zoomed out, you're letting more of the windows show.
Were not informed. Nobody was officially informed about that the Polish army is going to exist in South Russia. We just heard this from other people, but not officially. Nobody knew it. But if anybody wants to go and join the army, they make all kinds of obstacles. They try to say that if you go, then your family has to be transported replaced to another place. You'll never find it. They said that we'll fine you. You have to go for special. They always make all kinds of obstacles not to relieve you. And maybe 1%. I don't think even 1% from my camp, where it was at least almost, I don't know exactly, there was at least 50,000 people, maybe 100 people actually made it. But then there was no transportation, there was no tickets, there was no directions, nobody knew. So those people went and then came back because they didn't know what to, they discouraged, and then they came back. I was lucky of them because I make the determination, I want to stay, and I stayed 2 months, only 40 miles away from that place on a station, and I was waiting for the chance to jump on a train and go. But then that's what took me so long, because I jumped on a train like cowboys do, you know, without tickets, when a train was moving very, 60 miles an hour. And I watched. If they catch me, they put me to jail. But there was a group of us and we took the chance. So we go, let's say 500 miles. We thought we was going the right direction. Then changed. They somehow changed this station or railroad, went different. So we landed up instead far ahead. We went farther, and that's what took me almost 4 months before I found myself where they really I signed up to be a soldier. But I was only 16, but they accepted me, and I was lucky.
Who told you about this, that you can go to these Polish soldiers?
Well, I just heard that they're going to accept some, only people who have experience, who were in the army, or they were ex-soldiers, or they have veterans, or something like that. But I had none of them, so my chance was very slim. I watched them all the time, and they couldn't have that meal that we could have, because when you were the family, we could always have a little bit, each one has a get here or get there. Maybe we get some packages from Poland or something that we can supply a little better, the family with the meal. But not when they were those prisoners like my father. They were watched 24 hours a day, and they were outside going to work. They were chained. They were chained to each other, and they had a big chain on their feet so they can run away. And they have to work 16 hours a day. They get up 2 o'clock in the morning, and they never go to their house, to barracks, for all their, maybe 2-3 hours they had a little nap or something, and they go back to work. And this frozen, every time I see them, this comes to my mind, like see those people walking like mummies, like a zombies, sad, unnourished, their faces are long, and they could ask, their eyes are so big, and they looks like skeleton, and they just asking, begging, but we're not even supposed to go close to them. So I only watch from farther, like they were like a brigade coming from one place to another, and do like those work. They just making new roads or building houses or something. Those people are really unfortunate. Well, everything what they give you was a family. If the family was bigger, they give you books, and they mark on those books. For each family, there is so many ounces of bread. And I don't think I saw that in 2-3 years, because I escaped from Russia I went to army, that they had, I see any candy or sugar or fat or butter. If main thing is over there, it's potatoes, and bread, which they give you, and maybe some kind of cereal, but the cereal was like oats or something, but very seldom. And you go to the store, you're not like here that you can buy what you want. You have to wait in line, and whatever they have, and then you have to buy it, come home, prepare it, and then there was no place to even prepare it, because we don't have a coal. We had to go to the forest, cut some branches, bring some branches, and set the fire over there, and then with a little bit, and then make the meal. But the meal in Russia, the food is the main thing. They're always talking and thinking about food. And I don't remember that in 2 years that I really could say that I went to bed that day, I wasn't hungry. I always remembered I was hungry, and I cried because my stomach was so big. And I usually, to fill it in, I drink a lot of water. Even water we bringing from outside was not pure, was very, very muddy. And every time I tried to drink, there was those bugs, carcasses, and all kinds of the bugs, like flies, big things, flying. And then, but you didn't care. Some people more get those bugs. They talk that like for meat, because there is no meat in Russia when I was. And during the war, they sent everything to the front for the soldiers, and they didn't care about us. So were over there just to put some work. If the work wasn't done, then somebody from that place was responsible. So they usually take their elders or mothers. They took my mother away from us, and they put us separate, and she stayed over there almost a year not seeing us, and she was trying to go on like a starvation. She didn't eat for days, and finally they let her go see us. Then they took us again just to punish, because we didn't do enough work for them. And I was 14. I was working in a mine, very, very, very deep, and the mine was not secure. Every day was some kind of accident, and water was dripping, and there was all kinds of dangerous. And when you come out from that thing, you have to go to special bath shower, because we all look like we come from devil, like we devils. We look very, very tired and cold, and very, very dirty. And after that, you get a little nap. Before you know, you have to get up, go to work. And we used to go to the mine. It takes about 15 sometimes minutes, go down and down and down, almost miles before we can reach to our place. And I remember there was people over there working, and there was mules, and those mules were over there blind, and they just like an instant. The water was dripping, and they work with those special lamps. And accident that was daily, because they didn't secure the ceilings. They just put some support, and those things was coming down. And that was really, really hard. And when you actually come on the outside, you don't even see the sun. You see that frost, cold, and then you go back to work. And when I had an accident, they crushed my hand out when I was working over there. I remember there was accident. I was about 60 people lost their life, and about 200 they were buried. They couldn't even save them, because they couldn't go to the special tunnel or special exit so they can get safe. So after they didn't even try to save them, because they knew they were perished. So that was really tough. My sister was buried once. I was lucky I wasn't buried, but when I had this accident, I was working outside, mostly outside. I was repairing roofs or helping to put something on the wagons for the drivers, and that was my duty. When I was putting those wagons where they transport this, stuff what we were getting out, that was broken. And it was so broken, smashed, that they even said that they wouldn't even put together, And then here, I was, cut, over there, cut. I had about 100 some stitches, but they didn't have stitches. I don't know how that even cure, that things. And I was right here, when I fell down, and it's really, that core gets in. So I was surprised. Everybody asked me, what's here? What's that thing here? But I don't even remember how that happened. This was really tough. But the accidents happens all the time. The safety in Russia.
Excuse me.
Yes.
When it was exactly, and
Well, army from Russia.
Can we talk now?
Yeah, I was just trying to see the numbers.
Okay. It's okay. Are you going to tape? Are you taping?
Okay. 2 weeks after Germany invaded Poland, Russia came from the other side, from the east, without telling us that they were going to make the war. They just keep coming and coming and coming for 2 weeks, day and night. That's what I heard. Tanks and infantry and all heavy equipment was coming through the border. And my place where I was born was very close to the Russian border. And we didn't have too many army, or just maybe garnison of 17 or so with officers, so many people by Polish border. And they were coming. They didn't even have a chance even shoot, because they had no chance. So they just keep coming. And then after Russia came and occupied Poland, my town was a house, because then they were coming and took all the key positions, but the people who had anything to do with the army or some kind of government, they arrest them right away. My father was one of them. He arrested him, and we didn't know what's happened. And only a few months later, 3 months exactly, was heavy winter, and they figured, I don't know why, but all the families of those people who were arrested, or they figured that they're going to be in danger, they just took them. They want to exile them. They want to send them to Russia. So what they did, they came in the morning, 2 o'clock, to our house, and they said they want us all, whole family, for some questioning. And it was very, very cold. There was a buggy, the horses and everything ready for take us to the station. But the station was 20-some miles. The road was drifted, and took us about 8 hours to get to that place. And that wasn't the questions they asked. They just put us and a whole many other thousands in the families with the whole crowd, I don't know how many thousands, to the trains. The trains was already waiting for us, and there wasn't passenger train at all. It was a train that they usually moved like cows or some transport. Wasn't no seats, no any comfort, nothing in those things, and they put us in that train just like a sardines. There was no water, running water. There was no any food, and they took us about 5 hours before everything was ready, and I don't know how many families, but there was at least 150 trains connected, or hooked up, and they just went to we traveled to Russia. How was the travel? I don't exactly know, but every few thousand miles they stop. They gave us some water and maybe some food, not much, so we can exist. And then took us too long. I think it was 6 weeks before we reached destination, and nothing was waiting for us except the empty barracks we just recently they built from big logs, and the moss was between. There was no stove, no accommodation, no furniture. And right away, next year in the morning, they line us up, and they said, anybody is older than 10 years, you have to work. And we work very hard. Every day, everybody has to work. And they gave us ration, bread, a little bit to exist, a little bit, some oats, but no milk, no sugar, nothing. And I think they suffer, the families with their little children. There was many people were sick. There was no doctor. And those memories, 50 years ago, but it's just standing like now in my picture in front of me, and I could see those misery, those faces, very sad. After all that trip we made, outside was cold, inside in a barrack, those barracks was cold, and the work we have to perform, we knew that we won't exist too long. So everybody pitched in, and we work hard. Family stayed together. We pray a lot. We pray so much that we can be safe, that at least we can, if we die together with the whole family. Well, I was the oldest one. I was 14. And I went to work. There was no chance that I could complete my education. My sister was working. My mother was working. And thousands of other people were working. I don't know how we went through all those 2 years in Siberia. All outside, we had no freedom because the guards watched us day and night. We couldn't go outside or communicate or have any radio or newspaper. Everything was just completely shut off. We have to just work. If we don't work, they said, you have to die. If you don't work, you can't eat either. So, of course, everybody was talking about the cold, that they are hungry. And we didn't know what's going on because the war was going on. But we had no communication. We write many letters to Poland, but there was no answer. Finally, we got some answer, and they were telling us that it's not even better over there because any people left in Poland, they lost everything. They just displaced them from that place, gave them some place to live, but that was not enough. They lost everything. We lost, of course, everything. The place that we will live, we had horses, we had cows, we had all the family, the farm. Everything was grabbed by other people. Some places was burned. The house was not even there no more. So nothing was good over there. So somehow, after 2.5 years, we heard that there was some kind of pact between our government in London and government in Moscow that any older young people willing to go to army and help the Russian fight Germans, they can go. So I went, but I was very young. I had no papers. I said goodbye to my mother and my sisters. And I left. I left with other men, and we were waiting for 2 months, not too far, but there was no even chance that we can reach anything because no communication. We didn't have no papers, no plans, nothing to do, but I waited. I waited for some chances, for some occasion that we can jump on a train and go on the south. But somehow I waited. But meantime, we were looking for food. Nobody was giving. So we were taking food wherever we have. We starved. Many times when we were trying to get the food, they caught us and they put us in jail. I was so slim. Send them to Siberia, to Russia. They have to have some more camps, so we were forced to cut the trees, not with a special equipment, but a hatchet like this one. Trees, big. Sometimes they're so big that they have to be like 6 men can't even go around. And we were cutting 12 hours, 16 hours a day. And many times my friends get pinched and get hurt. And they didn't have any special doctors or something to give him a help. If you die, they let you die. But there was hard because there was cold. We didn't have nothing to eat, hardly anything to eat, and it was really tough. But I was over there for 2 years working very hard, and now this work. What I did learn over there, this is even now I can use in this country. I cut the wood, I sell this wood, and I send this money, what I can make on this wood, to poor people who come from Russia. Now today they are almost invalids. They can't work. They are sick. So I sent already thousands and thousands of dollars. I work myself. I work in General Electric, but my spare time, like 6 hours a day, I cut this firewood so I can sell it. People have a nice places here. They sit by their fireplaces, but in Russia they don't know what this good time is. They have to work really hard. So yeah, as you see, I am 64 years old now, and I work all my life so hard, but these memories, what I went through Russia, it just can't describe, it just can't tell. I still have nightmares. I just dream that I come to this country. I am always travel this by airplane, by ship, and then it's just nightmares that I can't understand that I'm in this country. This country is very, very rich country, and we can do a lot of things for other people if we wanted to. A lot in this country there is a waste. The people waste everything, but you don't know what the hungry is, how a person is sick when there is no medicine, when there is no doctors, and you are forced to forced labor. This is really hard. I was only 14 years old, and I'm 63 now, 64. But this is so hard. It's just like you don't understand. We could never understand why we were sent over there. People were sent over there not for the lecture. They were sent over there to die. They just want to destroy us. They're cold, and all these bugs were eating us. In the summertime, there was such a mosquitoes, and especially, that flies. When they get bit, people were dying like flies from that disease, and there was no doctors, no medicine. There was war. And we were over there, about 10 million Polish families, and there was a lot of other different nationality. And I escaped from Russia to Africa to find Germans, but my family stayed over there for 6 solid years, and now they are dying. My brother died just now. He has a cancer. Another sister has a cataracts. Another sister has a kidney trouble. Another brother, my youngest brother, he was so little. Now he has a heart problem. I just sent now a few $1,000, so he has to have an open heart surgery. So it's really tough. What would you like to know more about the Russia?
How many hours? Okay.
12 hours, but there was no limit. When work has to be done, there was no weather or temperature or anything to stop us. They had to be done, and we were forced from anybody. No age was, special. All the children, women, everybody worked, and we worked hard. And we didn't have a special uniform, so close to get. So we use any possible way that we keep warm. And we didn't have tea or coffee. We used to drink boiled water. Boiled water help us and save us lives, because that water, I don't know, we put salt, and if we had a little bread, that was really good. And that's what we eat. That's our food. I never see any meat, any sugar, anything for years, as long as I lived there. And because I was growing, I got blind. I got the deficiency on my system, and I was blind for 5 years, only when I was dark. But during the day, I could see. But I don't know, I suffer when I was young. And I think when in that condition in Russia, they suffer most the young people and old people. And a lot of percentage of us died over there.
Did you have any free Sundays?
Oh no, Sunday in Russia, they have no Sundays. You have to work 7 days a week. And their work has to be, they really force you to work. And many times we have to work even if it was blizzard and cold. And I think it was very miserable. for the people, you know, for the anybody, even animal couldn't stand. They were so cold that there was, so I remember there was no, when they cut those trees and the snow and the wind was blowing so hard, there was nothing stopped them. Then people were just standing freezing. I don't know, there was maybe that year, but I really suffer. I have frozen my toes and my nose was frozen, and I had, till now, I had all of my feeling in my hands are not the same, the joints, and I feel, I work hard. I force myself now to do a lot of work, but really that years where I spent in Russia, I really see that's really hurt me.
Okay.
Cold is anybody went through that, anybody goes through the territory or places where it's cold. Cold doesn't stop nowhere unless you are an undercover. When you're standing over there, even my family, my youngest brother was standing for food for 16 hours to get some bread, or you know, and he was cold, and his friends, he said, look, what's going to happen to you? What's happening to your face? He said, your nose is white. He said, come on, do something, you know, some movement so you can have some your blood circulation, otherwise you die. And many people didn't know they get so frozen nose and limbs and hands. That's what cold does to you. School, Russian school, and they had to be taught Russian, and they told them to forget when you Polish. When you go home, don't talk to your mother Polish. Just talk to your parents or your sisters or brothers. Nothing, just a Russian, because here you're going to be Russian. You're going to be, you grow up, you go to army, you're going to be engineer or something. So please don't forget, talk to them. But believe me, they said, don't you ever mention Jesus Christ or read any magazines or about some Bibles. If you do have some, find out that the parents or somebody has any religious articles, you tell us. We give you the present. We give you candy. We give you some. We take you to movie. We give you, send you for the summer for the vacation. But don't you tell us everything. Tell us everything parents do. Anything they say. Anything, if they have any letters from Poland or from other countries, what they talk about, if they have anything, if they have anything, some packages, that is that package, maybe some secret stuff, you tell us everything. If you do, you get a present. Well, I didn't do that, my brother didn't do it, we know better. But you see, other kids, they were doing that. And you see, we were so like a prison in even our own home. We couldn't even tell the parents were afraid, or grown-ups were afraid to say anything private, because everything was recorded over there. They watch you day and night, what you do, what you think, they just want to destroy our brain, our body, our will to live. And they don't care if you die or live. Because if you die or your parents die, they have hundreds and thousands of people take your place. And they just send you them. If they just send them for 2-3 years, they know they're going to die. That's what they're doing. That's what they were doing during the, you know, when Stalin was over there in those years.
Thank you.
Today is Mother's Day. It comes to my memory 50 years ago. I was only 14 years old with my whole family. We worked very hard in Russia, but the main thing, we didn't have nothing to eat, hardly anything to eat. If we get piece of bread like this one, and the bread was very, very dark and heavy, maybe for them because they waited, so there was enough, but that was enough. I could eat 100 times as much. I talked to many people, and especially it comes to my memory, like my wife was telling me, when she was with Russia in her family, and there was 14 children. In that family was always famished, always hungry. They had to take chances. Almost every day they take a chances from the head and said, which one is going to eat today? Because tomorrow maybe somebody else will take a chance and eat. We go to bed, every day we used to go to bed hungry, cold. And there was so much hunger that you don't understand. There was people over there always, every day, they were talking and dreaming and talk about food. My wife was telling me when she was 13 years old with her brothers, and she said, every time she said this, she cries. She said, I wish I had enough bread, even bread what the Russia gave me, just enough that I could slice enough from them and eat, just so I have enough in my stomach and I don't care what's happened to me. I even have to die, but I am so hungry. I have nothing to eat. And this was really hard. And I was with my family. My father was away. He was at the concentration camp, which we thought he was dead. But for us, you know, there was 5 of us, and there was nothing to, you know, my brother used to go and wait for the special line to get something to eat. And when I come here, and I'm so fortunate, come to this country, eat enough bread, and I